Now, Kevin, to kick this one to you, just how impressive was the T Wolves win in Game One, and what does it mean for the T Wolves moving forward going into Game Two against the Grizzlies?
Everything. Um, it's hard to put into words because I was out last night hanging out with the missus, just chilling. I checked my phone to check the score as the Golden State game is on, and I'm like, oh, let's see how much the Grizzlies won by. I swear to God, that's exactly what I said because I genuinely thought Timberwolves had no shot, and I see that they won by 13, and I'm sitting here like, wait a second, what? The fact that people were mocking the Timberwolves, myself included, a lot of my friends, for them celebrating like they had won the NBA Finals. JJ Redick had gone on TV or on his podcast and said the city cared, the coaches cared, the players cared. That emotion that comes from a team that wins and finally does something that felt meaningful, um, it's validated. And all that those players needed was that moment to spark a run. All they needed was that moment to feel like they can do it, that confidence that builds within an organization or a group of men to make a push in the postseason. Now, I'm pretty sure JJ didn't mean that they're going to take this and run all the way to the NBA Finals. But of course, JJ said himself he has been on a team, aka I think the 2015 Clippers, where they beat the Spurs in round one. And he said that he had cried. He had tears after the game because they finally were able to beat a team that had gone to back to back finals. They were finally able to beat a team that 9 times out of 10 had beat them in the postseason. And he said that that's normal. So that electrifying win the other night when Minnesota won to lock up the seventh seed, I think is the main reason why they were able to propel and do what they did behind the leadership of Anthony Edwards. Dude, I told Kyle just a few moments before we started recording, I don't know what it is with these first round picks from the last couple of years. Like I know I'm combining sports and they're two different things, but dude, Joe Burrow and this man Anthony Edwards, they're no joke, man. They have a confidence, a swagger, a no fear type of mentality. AE been like that since his rookie year last year. I mean, post game interviews, man's hysterical. Pre-game interviews, hilarious. And now you go into a postseason setting, and he says he likes the fans talking shit. He enjoys the rile up of it. Basketball is fun. First postseason game ever, 36 points. I didn't expect that whatsoever. The man just came out pulling, and he was 8 of 8 from the 3 point line. Only two turnovers, bro. For a first year or a second year player, that's absolutely insane. Carl Anthony Towns, 29 points, and he caught a body, bro. This team caught that spark. They're riding that wave, and it's behind the leader that is Anthony Edwards, who's emerging to be one of those people that you look at like, all right, he's already a talented player. All right, he's already a star in his own right. Can he elevate that game to become a superstar? Can he become that all caliber player that the Timberwolves need that they haven't had since Kevin Garnett? Dude, this kid's no joke. The tandem between him and Edwards, excuse me, between him and Towns is absolutely insane. And let's not forget a player that's consistently forgotten because he has been forgetful the last year or so. D'Angelo Russell only had 10 points. He was 2 of 11. Heaven forbid he starts to get a little bit of rhythm. It's a wrap. Like Ja had to go drop 32 to make this game close. Desmond Bain had a pretty minuscule night. I mean, it was 6 of 15. Steven Adams, again, not an offensive player. He didn't even score. Dylan Brooks was the second leading scorer on the Grizzlies with 24. Jaren Jackson Jr., 12. Um, I really can't sit here and say anything aside from they had a pretty bad night from the 3 point line. They were only shooting 25.9%, and they just could not get it going overall as a team. 11 turnovers. They took care of the basketball, but you're just looking at it and you're saying, "Oh my God, how were they not able to stop Anthony Edwards?" So this game was a massive shock to me. This is a really really young team that has come out here and said, "Hey, we're not scared." And by young, I mean young and experienced in the postseason because we all know Pat Bev a little bit on the older side. Obviously, we know Carl Anthony Towns isn't a young buck in terms of like he's not like a first or second year player. D'Angelo Russell's been to the postseason a couple times. So these players are just, I don't know, man. It's crazy to think that Minnesota went out here and beat Memphis on the road. It's insane to think that Ja Morant, his 32 wasn't even close to enough. And a second year player's out here damn near dropping 40 in his first postseason game and laughing about it in the post game conference. Dude, Minnesota might be one of those teams to watch because that performance itself was, it could be that spark or that plug that they need to kind of go on a little bit of a run and maybe shock us.
I mean, to me, it was probably the most shocking result of the entire week because the way that I looked at it was, Minnesota has always kind of been a team like on the outside looking in the last couple years. Yeah, they've had a couple flash moments here and there. Maybe it's like some big time dunks that really get highlighted on social media, Twitter or Facebook, for example. But they weren't really a team that I thought it's like, yeah, like this team is like a difference maker. Like this team could actually make noise going into the playoffs. Well, I have to kind of, I guess, amend that statement because I can't really see that at this current point in time, just because Minnesota did it. I really can't believe it, and it's like you said, Kev. I think it's safe to say at this point that Anthony Edwards is probably a star at this point in time, but I mean, this is a superstar in the making, and there's really no other way to say it because when you're going into your first playoff game as an NBA basketball player, I would imagine, like, for Anthony Edwards, like, there would be a little bit of pressure associated with that just because it's a much more high pressurized moment compared to just playing regular season games. Usually, the pace of playoff games is usually slower. And I thought that that might be a couple factors that would go against him in his first playoff game. I guess the part that I missed was when you look at Memphis and Minnesota, as far as both teams are constructed, Kevin, I think it's fair to say these teams are relatively young as far as like their average age is concerned with this roster or with both rosters. And I think Anthony Edwards said, you know what? No matter if this is my first playoff game or if this is my 100th playoff game, I'm going to go out here and ball out for my team. 40 minutes, 36 points, and was really the guy that led the way for Minnesota from beginning to end in this game against the Grizzlies. And to me, like when it comes to like the best players on the court in this series featuring the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies, my first player that I would pick as like the really like the game shifting player that could really make a difference in the game, that'd be Ja Morant. Granted, Ja's missed some time the last couple of weeks with a lingering injury issue, but I would still kind of side with him because Ja Morant was a pretty solid MVP candidate throughout most of the year before he got hurt at the end of the year, just because of his amazing athletic ability. And whenever he drives into the lane, he's looking to decapitate people by just jamming it at the rim. But Anthony Edwards, I can no longer sleep on this guy. This guy has shown flash moments here and there throughout the first 2 years in his NBA career, but this is by far his biggest one to me. To put 36 points on the road in a game one playoff series against the two-seeded Grizzlies, who were one of the best teams in the NBA to a larger extent as well, that's insane to me. And then to go along with that, if you're getting contributions from Karl Anthony Towns and Malik Beasley the way that they did, this is going to be a much more compelling series than I originally gave it credit, because I honestly thought that Memphis would relatively go throughout the series pretty quickly, probably maybe 5 games. If they pushed it, maybe 6, as far as Minnesota pushing the length of the series to me. But I kind of disrespected Minnesota to a certain extent because I just didn't think that they were ready for the moment. That game one performance definitely proved it to me. And as far as going into game two is concerned, I think Minnesota has a very good chance to possibly replicate a very similar performance. Granted, I don't know if they're going to win game two because I would imagine Memphis is going to make some pretty significant adjustments going into game two, specifically behind the 3-point line. Like Kevin mentioned, they only shot 25% from the field um, in that game as far as the Grizzlies are concerned. But if Minnesota could put up a very similar type of offensive production style like they did in game one going into game two, that is going to serve them extremely well. And it's going to put a lot of pressure on Memphis to get it back because I don't think Memphis was originally expecting that they would be down 0-1 after game one. So Memphis is going to have a lot to play for in game two. Minnesota's got to be ready for Memphis to punch him in the mouth because Memphis is going to go balls to the wall to try to even this series before it goes back to Minnesota for game three. But that dude, Anthony Edwards, is a problem. He's gotten my attention, and I think he's gotten a lot of other people's attention just because I think that this guy is on the cusp of becoming a superstar. And that's just how I see it.